Strategy games on Nintendo Switch offer an impressive range, from classic turn-based tactics to modern hybrids that mix RPG systems, cards, or real-time elements. They're perfect for both handheld and docked play, rewarding careful planning and smart decisions over quick reflexes. In this video, we're highlighting games that stand out for their depth, replayability, and meaningful choices. Here are the top 20 best strategy games on Nintendo Switch. Songs of Conquest stands out on Nintendo Switch as a deeply strategic experience that blends classic empire management with deliberate, hex-based tactical combat. Players command powerful mage leaders known as wielders, exploring a richly detailed overworld to capture towns, gather resources, and expand influence while carefully planning movement and positioning. Each decision on the map feeds directly into battles, where terrain, elevation, unit synergies, and spellcasting play a decisive role, turning every encounter into a thoughtful test of foresight rather than raw numbers. Town development adds another strategic layer, forcing meaningful choices between economic growth, military strength, and long-term faction specialization. Combat rewards smart positioning and timing, with diverse unit roles that encourage combined tactics instead of brute force. Beyond mechanics, the game's high fantasy setting delivers a measured, lore-driven narrative told through multiple faction campaigns, each revealing different political tensions and magical conflicts shaping the world. Rather than rushing the story, it unfolds gradually, letting atmosphere, pixel art visuals, and world-building carry the experience. Divinity Original Sin 2 Definitive Edition delivers one of the most layered, strategy-focused RPG experiences available, combining deep turn-based combat with an exceptionally reactive world. Set in the high fantasy realm of Rivellon, the game places you in control of a party of characters whose origins, traits, and personal stories actively shape dialogue, quests, and outcomes. Exploration is fully open-ended, encouraging experimentation through stealth, environmental interaction, and creative problem-solving, rather than linear quest design. Combat unfolds on a grid governed by action points, where positioning, elevation, and especially elemental interactions, such as fire igniting poison or electricity spreading through water, create complex tactical scenarios that reward foresight and improvisation. Character progression is deliberately flexible, allowing players to mix classes, abilities, and attributes to craft highly specialized or unconventional builds. Outside of battle, choices carry real narrative weight, branching storylines in meaningful ways and reinforcing the sense that the world responds to your actions. Slay the Spire is a tightly designed strategy experience that fuses turn-based card combat with roguelike structure, creating constant tension between planning and adaptation. Each run begins by choosing a character with a distinct deck and mechanics, immediately shaping how you approach battles and long-term strategy. Combat revolves around drawing limited hands each turn, managing energy, and deciding whether to attack, defend, or set up future turns, making every card play meaningful. Progression comes through carefully selecting new cards, powerful relics with passive effects, and upgrades that strengthen deck synergy, while also knowing when to skip rewards to avoid bloating your strategy. The branching map structure forces risk-reward decisions, offering safer routes or dangerous elite encounters that promise stronger payoffs. Rather than relying on a traditional story, the game builds atmosphere through its escalating difficulty and mysterious tower setting, letting the sense of narrative emerge naturally from repeated attempts and hard-earned mastery. With no two runs ever playing the same, Slay the Spire rewards strategic foresight, adaptability, and deep understanding of its systems, making it endlessly engaging for players who enjoy refining tactics through repeated play. Wargroove is a refined take on classic grid-based strategy, where careful planning and battlefield control define every encounter. Battles unfold on tile-based maps filled with terrain that directly affects movement, defense, and positioning, pushing players to think several turns ahead when advancing or holding ground. You build and manage an economy by capturing villages and structures, then use those resources to deploy a diverse roster of units, ranging from infantry and cavalry to naval forces and fantastical creatures, each with clear strengths and weaknesses. A defining mechanic is the presence of commanders, powerful leaders who fight alongside your army and possess unique groove abilities that charge over time, adding a crucial layer of tactical timing that can decisively swing battles when used wisely. The campaign presents a light-hearted fantasy narrative centered on political conflict and shifting alliances, supported by charming characters and humorous dialogue that keep the tone approachable without undermining strategic depth. Pikmin 4 refines real-time strategy through precise multitasking, environmental awareness, and clever squad control. Players explore a colorful yet dangerous alien world while commanding different types of Pikmin, each specialized for specific tasks such as combat, construction, traversal, or hazard resistance, making unit selection and positioning essential to success. Gameplay revolves around efficient time and resource management, asking you to balance exploration, puzzle solving, treasure collection, and enemy encounters within carefully planned outings. A major strategic addition is Ochi, a versatile canine companion who can carry heavy objects, break obstacles, transport Pikmin, and even lead independent actions, greatly expanding tactical options and map navigation. Level design emphasizes layered environments with shortcuts, underground areas, and interconnected challenges that reward smart planning rather than brute force. The Dandori battles and challenges distill the experience into focused strategy scenarios, testing how well players can organize tasks and adapt under pressure. Shogun Showdown is tightly focused strategy experience built around prediction, positioning, and deliberate decision-making. Set in a stylized, feudal-inspired world, the game unfolds across compact battle arenas where combat plays out on a grid-like 2D plane, turning every step, turn, and action into a meaningful choice. Instead of traditional attacks, players rely on upgradable action tiles that represent movement, strikes, defensive maneuvers, and special abilities, encouraging careful planning and synergy rather than reactive button presses. Enemies clearly telegraph their intentions, shifting the challenge toward outsmarting opponents through timing, spacing, and forcing them into unfavorable positions. Between encounters, roguelike progression systems unlock new tiles, characters, and upgrades, steadily expanding strategic possibilities while maintaining a high skill ceiling. Shops and upgrades introduce long-term planning as you refine builds across multiple runs, balancing risk and reward with each decision. The story remains intentionally minimalist, framing the journey as a lone warrior's ascent toward confronting the Shogun, allowing the game's tactical depth, clean visual design, and satisfying loop of mastery and experimentation. Valkyria Chronicles 4 is a distinctive take on strategy by blending turn-based planning, real-time action, and RPG progression through its signature Blitz battle system. Battles begin from an overhead command view where players deploy and position units, manage limited command points, and decide how to approach objectives such as capturing bases or breaking enemy defenses. Activating a unit shifts the camera into a third-person perspective where movement, aiming, cover usage, and line of sight play out dynamically, making terrain and positioning just as important as raw firepower. Each class fills a clear tactical role, from fast-moving scouts and durable shock troopers to long-range snipers, anti-armor lancers, and the versatile grenadiers, encouraging combined arm strategies rather than single-unit dominance. Between missions, character progression and squad management add long-term depth, strengthening emotional and mechanical investment in your team. The story follows Squad E of the Federation Army during a large-scale war, focusing not only on military objectives but also on camaraderie, sacrifice, and the human cost of conflict, giving narrative weight to every hard-fought battle and reinforcing the game's thoughtful, methodical approach to strategy. Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope on Nintendo Switch evolves tactical combat by replacing rigid grid movement with free-form positioning inside a movement radius, allowing players to experiment with flanking, cover usage, and ability chaining. Battles emphasize squad synergy, letting you assemble teams from Mario heroes and their Rabbid counterparts, each bringing distinct weapons, skills, and combat roles that encourage flexible strategies rather than fixed solutions. A major layer of depth comes from the sparks themselves, elemental companions that grant active powers and passive bonuses, opening up creative combinations that can dramatically alter how encounters play out. Outside combat, the game leans more heavily into exploration, featuring multiple planets with open areas, environmental puzzles, side quests, and optional challenges that reward curiosity and tactical thinking. The story follows the heroes as they travel across corrupted worlds to rescue the sparks and restore balance, blending lighthearted humor, charming character interactions, and a sense of adventure that keeps the tone accessible without sacrificing strategic complexity.
Beat it! Oh yeah!
Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle on Nintendo Switch delivers a surprisingly deep tactical experience by blending grid-based strategy with approachable mechanics and playful presentation. Battles take place on structured maps where positioning, movement range, and smart use of cover are essential, turning every turn into a compact tactical puzzle. Characters can move freely within set limits before attacking or using abilities, allowing for flanking maneuvers, team jumps, and creative positioning that reward foresight rather than brute force. Each hero and Rabbid counterpart fills a distinct role, from balanced offense and long-range precision to defensive support, encouraging thoughtful squad composition and synergy. Progression systems let players enhance weapons, skills, and movement options, gradually expanding strategic flexibility as challenges grow more demanding. Outside combat, light exploration and environmental puzzles connect battles across themed worlds, keeping the pacing varied and engaging. The story centers on the Mushroom Kingdom being thrown into chaos by a Rabbids-fueled anomaly, setting up a humorous crossover adventure that mixes charm with clear objectives.
Let's go!
Persona 5 Tactica reimagines the Phantom Thieves' signature style within a grid-based tactical framework that emphasizes positioning, cover, and team synergy. Battles take place on compact maps, where squads of 3 characters must carefully manage movement and line of sight, using cover to avoid damage while setting up flanks that expose enemies and trigger powerful follow-up actions, reminiscent of the series' One More system. Each character brings distinct weapons, elemental persona skills, and support abilities, encouraging smart combinations that manipulate enemy placement, apply status effects, or control the flow of combat rather than relying on raw strength alone. The tactical layer rewards foresight, as chaining attacks and maintaining momentum often determines success more than simple offense. Outside of combat, the game leans heavily into narrative, placing the Phantom Thieves in a strange, oppressed world where they join a rebel force to challenge authoritarian rulers and ignite a revolution. Character-driven dialogue, thematic focus on freedom and resistance, and strong visual identity preserve the spirit of Persona while translating it into a thoughtful, turn-based strategy experience that balances storytelling with deliberate, satisfying tactical decision-making.
Dodged that perfectly. Nice.
What to do here?
Joker shot. Let's do this. Just look at this spot. Hit him hard. I sure know how
Now
to
it's
hit.
my turn.
Another hit. Excellent marksmanship. That's a hit. Doing good, Skull.
Into the Breach on Nintendo Switch strips strategy down to its purest form, delivering tense, puzzle-like battles where every action has clear and immediate consequences. Combat unfolds on compact, grid-based maps, as players command a small squad of mechs tasked with defending cities from the invading Vec, with buildings serving both as objectives and power sources that must be protected at all costs. Enemy actions are fully telegraphed in advance, shifting the focus from chance to problem-solving, as success depends on repositioning units, pushing enemies into hazards, blocking attacks, or sacrificing optimal damage to prevent civilian losses. The structure blends turn-based tactics with roguelike progression, allowing players to choose which regions to defend, unlock new pilots and mech loadouts, and carry lessons learned from failed timelines into future attempts. Narrative elements remain intentionally restrained, framing the conflict as a desperate loop of time-traveling pilots trying to avert humanity's extinction. This minimalist storytelling reinforces the constant pressure of decision-making, making Into the Breach a masterclass in strategic clarity, adaptability, and meaningful choice. Tactics Ogre Reborn on Nintendo Switch delivers a deeply layered tactical experience built around deliberate decision-making, complex combat systems, and mature storytelling. Battles unfold on isometric maps, where elevation, terrain, unit placement, and turn order play a critical role, rewarding careful positioning and long-term planning over reckless aggression. Players command a diverse army of classes with distinct weapons, skills, and magic, encouraging balanced squad composition and thoughtful use of support, offense, and crowd control to overcome challenging encounters. Progression systems emphasize strategic customization, allowing units to grow through equipment choices, abilities, and class roles rather than simple stat grinding. Beyond mechanics, the game's narrative stands as one of its strongest pillars, set in the war-torn land of Valeria, where political intrigue, ethnic conflict, and shifting alliances shape every chapter. As Denim and his allies navigate civil war and power struggles, players face morally complex choices that branch the story, alter character relationships, and lead to different outcomes.
Level management system gives you the power to experiment with endless combinations, harness the unique Chariot Tarot system to rewind a doomed battle and revise your strategy. Reborn and deeper than ever, dive into a tale filled with choices that will determine the conclusion of your unforgettable journey. Tactics Ogre Reborn. Available.
Fire Emblem Engage refines classic turn-based strategy with a strong focus on precise positioning, unit synergy, and flexible character building. Battles unfold on grid-based maps where terrain, movement range, and weapon matchups dictate the flow of combat, rewarding careful planning and smart engagement timing. The familiar weapon triangle is reinforced by the break system, which temporarily disables enemy counterattacks when exploited correctly, adding another layer of tactical depth to unit placement and attack order. A defining feature is the Emblem ring system, allowing characters to bond with legendary heroes, unlocking powerful skills, stat boosts, and temporary engage states that can dramatically shift momentum when used at the right moment. Between battles, players manage squad growth through class changes, skill inheritance, and support bonds that enhance combat effectiveness and reinforce team roles. The story centers on Lear, a divine figure awakened to confront a resurging evil, blending high fantasy conflict with character-driven moments and callbacks to the series' legacy. Balatro delivers a deceptively deep strategy experience by transforming familiar poker rules into a highly tactical, roguelike deck builder. Each run challenges players to construct and refine a deck of standard playing cards, while facing escalating blinds that demand increasingly efficient scoring. Instead of competing against opponents, success comes from maximizing points through smart hand selection, limited discards, and careful planning within strict constraints. The real strategic depth emerges through jokers and modifiers, which radically alter how hands score, stack multipliers, or bend core rules, encouraging creative synergies and adaptive play rather than rigid strategies. Between rounds, earned resources can be invested into upgrading the deck, removing weak cards, or acquiring powerful jokers that reshape future decisions. While the game lacks a traditional narrative, its sense of progression is driven by rising difficulty, experimentation, and mastery, as each run tells its own story of calculated risks and unexpected combos. With its hypnotic flow, constant decision-making, and endless replayability, Balatro stands out as a strategy game built entirely around smart choices, probability management, and exploiting emergent systems to their fullest potential. Unicorn Overlord have a rich blend of large-scale strategy, tactical planning, and classic high fantasy storytelling that rewards thoughtful leadership rather than quick reactions. Players guide an exiled prince as he builds a liberation army, exploring a vast overworld filled with towns, side quests, recruitable allies, and strategic objectives that shape the flow of the campaign. Combat unfolds across expansive battlefields, where squads composed of varied unit classes, such as infantry, cavalry, archers, mages, and fantastical races, clash based on positioning, formation, terrain, and class interactions, creating deep rock-paper-scissors dynamics. Instead of micromanaging every action, players set tactical behaviors and priorities, allowing battles to resolve through preparation and smart composition rather than constant input. Between encounters, strategic depth expands through recruiting dozens of unique characters, promoting units, managing resources, and unlocking new formations that redefine battlefield roles. The narrative grounds these systems in a sweeping tale of rebellion, loyalty, and reclaiming a fractured continent, giving emotional weight to each victory and loss.
I am your shield. Behold my might! I trust you! Enjoy this!
Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp on Nintendo Switch revitalizes classic grid-based warfare with modern presentation while preserving the series' famously sharp tactical depth. Battles play out on colorful, tile-based maps where every unit type, infantry, tanks, aircraft, and naval forces, has distinct movement rules, attack ranges, and terrain interactions, making positioning and foresight essential to victory. Capturing cities and bases fuels your economy, forcing players to balance aggressive expansion with defensive stability and long-term logistics such as unit supply and repairs. A defining layer of strategy comes from commanding officers, each offering unique passive bonuses and powerful CO abilities that can dramatically shift momentum when activated at the right moment. Missions are structured as tightly designed tactical puzzles, constantly introducing new objectives and enemy compositions that test adaptability rather than raw strength. The story unfolds across 2 full campaigns, framing conflicts through lighthearted character interactions and clear military stakes that give context to each battle. Fire Emblem Three Houses blends classic grid-based strategy with deep character management and branching narrative design, creating a layered and emotionally driven tactical experience. Players take on the role of Byleth, a mercenary-turned-professor at the Garrig Mach Officers Academy, where choosing one of 3 student houses defines allies, long-term strategy, and the direction of the story. Battles unfold on turn-based maps where terrain, positioning, weapon matchups, and unit roles are critical, rewarding careful planning and coordinated team play over reckless aggression. Outside combat, the game introduces a calendar-driven structure that lets players teach classes, train skills, explore the monastery, and build relationships, all of which directly influence battlefield performance through class access, stat growth, and powerful support bonuses. Character progression is highly flexible, allowing students to grow into varied roles based on training choices rather than fixed paths. The story gradually evolves from academy life into a large-scale conflict shaped by political tension, ideology, and war, with player decisions determining alliances, rivalries, and outcomes.
The mark of nobility. Greatness awaits me.
Seems simple enough.
Leave it to me.
Triangle Strategy delivers a deliberately paced strategy experience that emphasizes positioning, foresight, and consequence-driven decision-making. Battles unfold on grid-based maps, where elevation, terrain bonuses, and directional attacks play a crucial role, rewarding careful movement and coordinated use of each unit's specialized abilities rather than overwhelming force. Characters are defined by distinct tactical roles, from frontline defenders and ranged attackers to support units that manipulate turn order, buffs, and battlefield control, encouraging thoughtful party composition and synergy. Combat systems revolve around managing limited tactical resources, making timing and skill usage just as important as raw positioning. Outside of battle, exploration segments allow players to gather information, uncover hidden items, and influence upcoming scenarios, reinforcing the strategic layer beyond combat. The narrative is set in the politically divided continent of Norzelia, where rival nations clash over scarce resources, and players guide Serenoa Wolfort through morally complex conflicts shaped by loyalty, ideology, and survival.
もう一働きするがお楽しみだぜ
SteamWorld Heist Ultimate Edition offers a distinctive spin on strategy by combining turn-based tactics with skill-driven, manual aiming that replaces traditional hit percentage systems. Battles unfold aboard side-scrolling enemy ships, where positioning, cover, and angles matter as much as unit placement, letting players ricochet bullets off walls to bypass shields or hit weak points with precision. You command Captain Piper Faraday and a crew of steampunk robot pirates, each filling specific tactical roles and bringing unique abilities that encourage careful squad composition and coordinated turns. Movement and actions are limited by a clear economy, forcing constant decisions between repositioning for better shots or taking immediate risks. Progression is driven by loot, as weapons, gear, and hats collected during missions dramatically alter playstyles and open up new tactical options. Procedurally generated ship layouts and varied objectives keep encounters fresh, while rewarding adaptability and creative problem-solving. The story provides light but engaging context, following Piper's growing crew through space-bound conflicts, rival factions, and an escalating threat that ties missions together. Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ivalice Chronicles, represents a gold standard for strategy RPG design, combining meticulous turn-based combat with one of the genre's most mature and politically driven narratives. Battles take place on isometric, grid-based maps, where elevation, terrain, facing, and turn order directly influence damage, accuracy, and survivability, making positioning as important as raw stats. The deep job system allows characters to learn abilities from multiple classes, encouraging hybrid builds and long-term planning as fighters evolve into highly specialized units tailored to your tactical approach. Each turn demands deliberate choices, balancing movement, offense, magic, and support while anticipating enemy actions. Beyond mechanics, the story unfolds in the war-torn land of Ivalice, following Ramza Bulv as he is drawn into a web of class conflict, political manipulation, religious power struggles, and moral ambiguity. Rather than clear heroes and villains, the narrative explores betrayal, loyalty, and the cost of truth in times of war, giving emotional weight to every battle. Modern refinements improve clarity and flow while preserving the original's strategic depth, making this version both approachable and deeply rewarding.
I'm here.
That's our list of the top 20 best strategy games on Nintendo Switch. Strategy is all about personal taste, so if your favorite didn't appear here, drop it in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe for more strategy-focused content, and share it with fellow Tactics fans. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.